Welcome ladies and gents, Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing related tweets. I'm using another laptop today. I've broken my laptop, which is why I didn't bring you a video last week. And I'm borrowing somebody's until I can have time to go and get one. So sorry about the lighting. It keeps going from dark to bright and I'm not exactly the most technologically savvy person in the world, so I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. But I guess it's the content, hearing me out, that you guys have tuned in for, rather than to actually see my face, this beautiful, beautiful face. So we're here to talk about Kell Brook and Erroll Spence. Obviously, we'll also touch on George Groves against Chudinov. In terms of Kell Brook and Erroll Spence, long-time subscribers will know that I'm a huge fan of both fighters. In terms of skill set, I have to say I believe that Kell Brook is the better boxer. Kell Brook reminds me a little bit of Vladimir Klitschko. Okay, there's a little bit of Vlad to Kell Brook. The jab is an important weapon. He throws his right hand particularly straight without much tell on it. He likes you at range. When you do get up close on the inside, he's brilliant at tying you up, as we saw against a very strong opponent in Sean Porter. Not many people get to outmuscle or outpower Sean Porter. You know, you look at someone like Keith Thurman, say, a lot of these fighters, you know, the sort of Keith Thurman going up to like middleweight, and he couldn't really handle Porter on the inside. Whereas Kell Brook tied him up very effectively, landed a couple of very good uppercuts too. But the point is that he's not the most he's not the best fighter on the inside in terms of throwing shots. What he does do better than Vlad is roll with punches particularly well. So if Vlad's up against the ropes, he'll deflect shots with his hands, his arms, and he can be effective at that. A lot of people thought that the Anthony Joshua stoppage was premature. I was one of them, to be honest, because although you have to forget at the point of the stoppage, you have to forget the two knockdowns prior to that. If you just judge the stoppage itself, you know, that last stoppage, go and watch the punches on slow motion, you'll see that none of them actually landed. There was one jab that sort of landed underneath the chin, but that was it really. So Vlad's very good at deflecting, but Kell will roll with shots, and you'll see, you know, a big puncher throw a hook with him, and it will roll with him, and it won't really affect Kell because he's not absorbing it full flush. And he did that very well against Golovkin. And what he does do is he makes you pay if you miss. Okay, so because his power is quite short as well, it doesn't need this big wind up to develop power. It's a very straight, short shot. Just, you know, it'll catch you the short shot. It has an effect. And because of that, if you do have a big swing and you miss, you're gonna pay the price. Now, Erroll Spence is a terrific athlete. What he does do as a southpaw as well, he's obviously, the reason southpaws are more dangerous to orthodox fighters than the other way around is because there are more right-handers than there are left-handers. So southpaws grow up on a day-to-day basis fighting against and sparring against other orthodox fighters, whereas orthodox fighters also tend to come up more often against orthodox fighters because there's a plethora of them. So as a result, southpaws are more used to seeing angles, those angles. They're more used to fighting against other fighters who are orthodox. Okay, so that's the difference. So he's going to have that on his side. He's taller, he's got a longer reach, he seems like the bigger man. If you looked at the weigh-in today, Kell Brook looked drained, his face, he looked very gaunt. And there's been a lot of talk about him struggling to make the weight. I think he is seriously struggling to make the weight. But even if you take that aside, you just look at them, you know, lats, shoulders. Erroll Spence seems like the bigger man, the naturally bigger man. So there are certain advantages there for Erroll Spence. One thing Erroll Spence does particularly well is when he does get you up against the ropes, his body work is beautiful. Okay? Oh, devastating body puncher. Now that's particularly dangerous for a guy who is weight drained, because what tends to happen is you tend to be a bit thin around the midriff. And if you're thin in the midriff, and you're breathing and you're tired and you're finding it harder to recover and you're taking solid body shots, it's going to take you a lot longer to recover. Okay. At distance though, at range, I believe Kell Brook's timing is better. I believe listen, they're both terrific boxers, okay? But I believe Kell Brook is the better boxer, the better technician, not necessarily a better tactician. We don't know that much yet about Erroll Spence's tactical nous, but from a technical perspective, I believe that Kell Brook is a superior boxer. I believe Erroll Spence is the bigger, stronger man. So where is it going to become offset? One thing that Erroll Spence does particularly aggressively is hook when you're up against the ropes. And what he does by that, Look at that Algieri knockout, for example. I think Bundu was a hook as well, a left hook if I'm not mistaken. But he launches his entire body. He gets quite a wide hook. It's quite a wide hook. And as he lands that hook, his whole body comes out of the centre, sort of out of the centre line. It does come out of the centre line, but it's a very aggressive. There's almost like a pause. So it's almost like bang. There's a very slight pause, and he's basically almost coiling and throwing everything. It's not like a fluid motion of he's finished one shot, he'll land the next shot, he'll land the next shot. It's bang, bang, bang. So it's almost like they're broken down, but it happens very quickly. The problem with what Erroll Spence will do, therefore, is if he throws a left hook and he misses, even if he lands, if he throws that left hook, you know that the next punch that's coming is going to be a right hand. Okay, he's not going to land the left hook, then drop a shoulder again and throw a jab. He's not going to land the left hook and then leave with a right uppercut, then another left hook. It doesn't really work like that. He will put everything into it and he'll come at you. I've mentioned this before, like in the movie The Karate Kid, when they got the drum with the two little strings on the side and he's teaching him how to turn it. And you know, the momentum of the ball, and he's teaching him how to... Erroll Spence does produce a lot of that. He's accurate though, he's a good boxer. So I'm not saying he's reckless by any stretch of the imagination, but against a guy like Kell Brook, where he can make you miss with inches, Kell might look to be on the ropes at times, and you're going to think, wow, Kell Brook's in trouble. And he might literally step back, because he's very good at doing that. He'll just step out of range and then lead with a shot of his own. If Kell Brook, because Kell Brook landed a lot on Golovkin, if Kell Brook's able to land that volume of punch on Spence, like he did in round 2 against Golovkin, he might have a lot more success, okay? Because you've got to understand, Kell Brook, yes, he's a big dude, I get it. And I spoke about in the past how, you know, Carmen Basilio was a much smaller man than Sugar Ray Robinson. And, you know, I've given all these examples to explain why you can't really criticise Golovkin for the Kell Brook fight. Kell Brook's a great fighter. But the point is, he did fight. He did go up to fight a very solid guy who's never been dropped at middleweight. So, and when I say solid, I mean physically solid, okay? Because you can be a great fighter and not be 100% durable. Golovkin is a beast, he's made of iron. You have to question whether Erroll Spence is as durable. And if he's not, those punches can have a significant effect on him, okay? The problem is with Kell Brook, because he's drained, if he is absorbing punishment to the body, you have to ask yourself, how long is he going to last absorbing that level of punishment if it is to the body? It's one thing to roll with 1 or 2 punches. What happens if it happens consistently? Okay, what happens? There's one technical problem that I think Kell Brook could come unstuck against. You know, in the preview video to the Klitschko Joshua fight, I spoke about some key punches. And one of them was the Vladimir Klitschko left hook, which was a bit off that night, but he did land it in the 5th to start changing the tide of the fight. But more importantly for Joshua, I explained that because of Klitschko's almost like a Muay Thai stance, where he stands quite upright, throws his arms in the air, as you throw a hook to Klitschko, what he'll do is he'll hide behind the arms and he'll drop his head. So as he's done that and he's got one arm up and you know he's dipping down, Joshua's thrown a left hook, kept his hand above Klitschko's head so Klitschko can't recover, and then he's led with an uppercut. And I explained how that uppercut could be a key fight-changing moment, and it was indeed the punch of the fight. I received a lot of great feedback from you guys. So I'm going to try and implement sort of the punch to look out for from now on, because it seemed to, you know, obviously they're not always going to be right, but you know, it seemed to have an effect with you guys. So the punch to look out for Erroll Spence, which I think could end up playing a huge part in this fight. Kell Brook, one thing he does, when he throws a shot, he throws it often down. Even when a guy's taller than him, he'll throw a shot, then dip under it, and the hook will go just above his head. Look out for it. He does it against Sean Porter when he's throwing the lead right hand. When he's throwing a jab, as he'll throw the jab, it will come down a little bit. So he'll be in a stance, and as he throws the jab, it comes down. It's not straight and then back here. He'll throw it and it'll come down. And you can counter him with a shot over the top of the jab. When you're fighting a southpaw with a longer reach, the angles are even better. So look out for, when Kell Brook throws a jab, look out for Erroll Spence looking to counter with a right hook over the top of that jab. I think he's going to have a lot of success with that punch. And if he does, particularly because I think what Kell Brook's going to want to do is try and spin away from that left hand. So he's going to look to jab and continually move to his left. Look out for that as well. So as Kell Brook's moving, there's a mosquito and I'm going to kill it in a second and carry on with the video. But he's going to be looking to spin away to his own left. Okay, so to Erroll Spence's right. So as he's doing that, Erroll Spence is going to read that at some point, and he's going to look to throw a looping right hook over the top of that jab. If he starts to land that, which he very well might, because he's got the reach advantage, that could change the fight. So look out for that. Alternatively, because Kell Brook does like that lead right hand and it's so straight, and Erroll Spence is a great fighter, but sometimes when he thinks you're hurt, he can get a bit wide and look for those power shots. Like I said, if he makes even the slightest error, look out for him perhaps overcommitting. Kell Brook maybe rolling with a punch or just slipping out of the way of it and then leading with a short shot. So look for that lead short right hand, and as he lands it, he'll look to duck underneath it. Okay, so again, if I'm Erroll Spence, I'm going to know that if he leads with a right hand, obviously it's easier said than done. When you're getting punched in the face by a lead power punch, it's hard. But when I'm throwing a counter hook back, unless it's over that jab, I'm going to look to throw it to the chest, because I believe Kell Brook's going to dip down into it. Okay, but regardless, Kell's going to look to dip down. I think he's going to have success with that straight right hand, and I think a lot of it's going to depend on a couple of things. Just like Vladimir Klitschko likes to be at range, Kell Brook is, despite being a bit shorter, less of a reach. I think his reflexes are better. I think his feet are probably a bit better. If he can get in and out, okay, land the shots he needs to land, not get hit, do a lot of tying up. I think he's going to have to do a lot of tying up. He's going to have to make it a very, almost like a low volume fight. Be on the outside, the high skilled fighter, land your power punches, a lot of tying up, a lot of spoiling. If you're not spoiling, move. But when Kell Brook's a very good mover, he's a clever mover. He's not an in and out mover, but he'll constantly change the angles of you. If you can keep Spence turning consistently, which I think he's going to try and do, and stop Spence from planting his feet, because he does like to plant his feet for those big power shots, then he could really cause him problems. You can't run and rotate around the ring in the way Algieri did, because he'll cut the ring off on you. So it's almost like George Groves did against Badou Jack, where he had a lot of success for a lot of times, like Kell Brook did against Golovkin in that second round, where you're moving but you're in the pocket. You're just sort of spinning in and around just to keep a guy turning. That's what Kell Brook's going to have to do. From a physical perspective, because they're so weight trained as well, I'm probably thinking it might be Errol Spence's fight based on that. But that's an unknown variable. We always speak about these things, okay? The things you know and the things you think you might know. We don't know for sure how Kell Brook's going to... Just because he went up to fight Golovkin, when was the last time you saw him at welterweight and you thought, he can't make welterweight anymore, he's drained? We haven't seen a Tony Bellew moment when Bellew was fighting and he looked like a skeleton. We haven't seen that with Kell Brook, so we're just assuming this could happen. But it might not. You know, so it's an unknown variable. So in terms of skill set, proven level, who's got the better CV, so on and so forth, you have to go Kell Brook. It's also in the UK. If it goes to points and it's a very close fight, the British fight fans, best fight fans in the world, I might add, bit biased, true, but you know, could sway the judges. Okay, so these are certain things you're going to have to think about. So when you consider Kell Brook's the underdog, based on that, he's the value bet. You have to go with Kell Brook based on that. Now you can get odds of Kell Brook to win the fight at, let me just tell you here, you can get odds of Kell Brook to win the fight at 2-1 with Matchbook. To me, they're great odds, and the way I'm going to hedge that, I believe Kell Brook's going to have some success early on. I think he has to start fast. I think Errol Spence, because of his method of fighting, looking to break a guy down to the body, he doesn't need to rush as much. Whereas Kell Brook, basically, I think Errol Spence is more likely to knock Brook out than the other way around. So Brook's going to have to start piling up points early in the fight. Errol Spence, on the other hand, I believe he's going to be able to take his time, invest in the body, and things like that. So as a result, with Errol Spence, because you're looking to make a profit, you know, you've got to mess around a bit. I'm going to look to get on round group betting. So basically, Errol Spence to win the fight between rounds 7 and 12, and you can get odds of that at 10-3 with Betfair. So that's the way I'm going to. That's 3.5-1. That's the way I'm going to bet it. One more thing I should say as well about Errol Spence. He's a very good fighter. Okay, excellent fighter. And I know a lot of people have spoken about, yeah, but you know, Brook's just been knocked out, he's got titanium plate in his eye. Again, it's an unknown variable, but it's something you need to remember. I was guilty of this. There were other online analysts that were guilty of this, The Wire, and a few others. And the reason I was guilty of what I'm about to tell you is because I had an injury once, and so did a friend of mine actually, of a nerve on the outer part of the thigh. Okay, so this particular nerve that a friend of mine and it caused him a problem called neuralgia paresthetica. And I had a similar injury in that area, and it would make my entire thigh go numb. And you felt your athleticism just disappear. Okay, I was in good shape back then. I used to play sports. You don't feel right. Your balance was gone, and we were guilty after the machete attack of assuming that Kell Brook would never be the same again. This is a guy with a lot of character. This is a guy whose body seems to recover particularly well. Yes, I do believe if the towel hadn't been thrown in, Kell Brook would have been flat on his back before the end of the round. But even with a broken orbital bone, he still fought another half a round, getting pounded by Golovkin, and he didn't go down. There is a difference, though, between Golovkin and Erroll Spence. Golovkin is a particularly patient fighter. He knows that his arms are loaded with power. As a result, it's a natural short power. Okay, I once had a debate with someone about who hits harder between Anthony Joshua and David Haye. And this is before Anthony Joshua has done what he's done. And I used to say, at that point, David Haye, at that point of the debate, at that point in time, a couple of years ago, I would say David Haye is the better boxer, but Joshua hits harder. And this particular friend of mine, who's also, well, he's not a friend, he's an acquaintance, he's a hardcore boxing fan, he said, you're absolutely crazy. It's not even a debate. David Haye hits a lot harder. And I tried to explain one of the reasons why I thought it was Joshua. And it was because a lot of Joshua's method of throwing a punch was natural, in the sense that it would come out of a flow. It would be a short right hand, it would be a straight right hand without much of a wind up. So he's just literally placing a right hand. It's the way Vladimir Klitschko throws it. It's the way Lennox Lewis used to throw it. So there's not much of a tail with it. Whereas when David Haye throws it, he's launching himself into that right hand. If you tell Anthony Joshua, right, Anthony, forget getting hit back. You're not in a boxing fight, you're just hitting a pad. I want you to hit that pad as hard as you can. And he launches himself into it. He might produce more power than David Haye. So I'm talking about what comes as natural without loading up on a shot. Okay, and I believe that although Golovkin hits harder than Spence, what Golovkin does is natural, in the sense that he'll just pop a jab out. To him, it's just a jab. To you, your face flies back. He catches you with a right hand, you're on the floor. But you realise when you're watching him, you're saying, where does he produce that power from? Because he's not launching himself. Errol Spence launches himself. So there is a risk in getting on the last 6 rounds, because Errol Spence could potentially smell blood and go for it. So in other words, just because Kell Brook went 5 rounds with Golovkin and didn't get knocked out, he got stopped by TKO. He might have got knocked out that round, but still, he went 5 rounds. It doesn't necessarily mean he goes 5 rounds with Errol Spence, because if Errol Spence starts to throw, he's not going to look for those short left hooks. He's going to launch himself into it, and it does make a difference. So this is a risky bet. Okay, this is risky in that regard, but it's just the way I'm going to get on it. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you're going to bet on it. In terms of George Groves, Errol Chudinov, I've always really liked Chudinov. I think he's very accurate. I think he's very clever with his variation. I think he beat Felix Sturm, and I think it was a ridiculous decision. Felix Sturm then failed the drugs test. It was just ludicrous. You know, Chudinov is essentially unbeaten, in my opinion. There has to come a point where you don't take official results into consideration, and rather than official results, you just sit there and you say, you know what, I'm gonna trust in my own eyes. I'm gonna trust in what I've seen and how I judge the fight. So in my opinion, he won the fight. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, you lost to Stern. He won the fight. So I like Fedor Chudinov. I think he's underrated. The thing is, George Groves, I think when he's on song, he's brilliant, and I think he makes certain technical errors, particularly defensively. I've spoken about these errors in the past. I spoke about how he threw a lead left hook without exiting his centre line against Karl Froch, and it came back to bite, and he does that consistently. He makes the same mistake. He gets belly jack when he gets dropped. He does make a lot of technical errors, but he has certain weapons which are incredible. His jab is brilliant. His movement is brilliant. He's very long-armed. He's got a lot of range. His feet are excellent. So George Groves has a lot of world-class attributes, and he's a very tough dude to pin down. I think Fedor Chudinov is going to really struggle to pin him down. So I think George Groves is going to win this fight. It's hard to know with George Groves because he's a big puncher, whether he gets a guy out of there or not, particularly because Chudinov's never been stopped. He's obviously a durable guy. But it's not just that, it's the fact that if George Groves this is his 4th attempt at winning a world title, if he's 7 rounds up and there's 2 rounds to go, and Chudinov's a bit woozy, is George Groves going to put his foot on the gas and try and take him out and risk it? Or is he going to say, you know what, this is the 4th time. If I don't win now, I might as well retire. These are his words, not mine. I'll just see the fight out. Okay, so because of that, I'm not comfortable with saying points or a TKO or a knockout victory. As a result, because the odds are so short, I'm not going to bet on it. Okay, so in other words, I believe George Groves is going to win. I don't know how he's going to win because of the circumstances. I think Chudinov's a very good fighter, but from a technical perspective, he's going to have to get close, and getting close consistently against George Groves is hard. He's going to have a lot on his plate just to bypass the jab before the fight even starts. Okay, so let me know what you think, guys. Let me know how you expect both fights to go. There's another really exciting fighter that I want you guys to look out for. This is more for our American friends. I'm sure the Brits out there will know who he is. I keep promising you guys I'm going to bring you a video talking about potential stars of the future. And I'm annoyed at myself because there was one guy who, let's just say it was one of the best knockouts I've ever seen. Okay, and he stopped Porky Medina at the weekend. I'm ready. You can research it yourself. Go and see who stopped Porky Medina and how he did it. But this kid is a guy that I wanted to talk about earlier in the year, and now all of a sudden he's in the limelight. BoxRec have him ranked 14th in the world. He's better than that. Very, very good young kid. Benavides, go look out for him, David. So I'm going to bring you a video where I'm going to talk about future prospects. I'm going to talk about Anthony Yard. I'm going to talk about, there's a guy called Nick Parper who's only had 2 fights at the moment, but he's exciting to watch. I'm going to talk about a bunch of different fighters who potentially can offer an awful lot. Some will only be domestic level, some European, some world level, but they're just guys that you might want to look out for, interesting prospects. We've spoken obviously about William Monroe Jr. in the past, Marius Briedis in the past, and they're flying quite high these days, so hopefully we can spot a few more of those. Let me know anyway, guys, how you expect all these fights to go. Oh, I was about to log off for telling you, I gave you that whole spiel, and I forgot what to tell you about. Yeah, the guy that I want to look out for our American friends is Jamie Cox. If you get to see the undercard, he's a very, very aggressive guy. British fans will know him. He's a bit of a contentious character. He's been in a bit of trouble with the law and his girlfriend and stuff like that, his ex-girlfriend. But he's a very good-looking dude. He looks like a Hollywood movie star, and he's very aggressive. So when you've got these two things going for you, you're potentially a star. You know, if you look like David Lemieux and you hit like David Lemieux, if you go on a really long unbeaten run and you've got the charisma to match it, you're a potential star. You know, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to put you on a pedestal. Because he has this history behind him, perhaps he's not going to be a corporate star, but he's got all the attributes needed to become a top class fighter. He's very aggressive, he really believes in himself, can get a little bit reckless. You know, he's so focused on breaking you down, he gives up his defense quite easily. Okay, he becomes very reckless, but a really good talent. He's got a bit of a personal thing, I think, with Chris Eubank Jr. I've heard him call him out a number of times. They're both obviously very aggressive, front foot heavy fighters, and I think he really fancies his chances against Chris Eubank. It would be a war. So look out for Jamie Cox on the undercard. Let me know what you think, guys. Chat to you soon.